Hello, welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television, where we keep you updated with the happenings in the country. I'm Stella Lashtasha, and we're live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can do us follow us live there to drop your comment, your views on any of the issue we will be discussing this afternoon. I'll be doing the program alongside Rachel Tansey.
Good afternoon.
Rachel.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
All right. Now let's get into the matters of the day. We will be starting with the educational sector, where we will recall that 1 week ago, Sana Nasu issued or actually started on a 1 week warning strike, which lasted from Monday last week down to Friday, and they have actually told their workers to resume work as of today. Now we will recall that there was a strike in 2021 with ASU, where we saw that there was a policy that was saying no work, no pay by the Buhari's regime, and that affected the Senior Staff Association as well as the Non-Academic Staff Union. But we will recall that Tinubu have asked that they should be paid, and ASU have been paid, but SANU and NASU are yet to get their payment. And looking at the way things are going, a lot of agitation coming from this body, Rachel, because of course it is more like there was the government was being biased by actually paying ASU in not paying SANU and NASU. We heard from reliable sources and reporters where we saw that some varsities, the gates were closed, students were stranded on Monday for some hours until some of the VCs who actually directed that the gates be open, lectures should commence. But we know that sometimes the admin work was kind of there was not so much of work there. So for instance, you need your, maybe you're looking for getting your certificate, you can't get access to it because the non-academic staff union are on strike. But then this is becoming more like a norm, that for every time a body or a union actually need to get the attention of the government, they go on strike. But then it's obvious strike is no longer working. Labour have threatened strike over and over, and nothing has come out of that. It's either there is a meeting with the federal government, and then we see that most time these meetings end up in deadlock. Of course, they have resumed work today, but then what is their next line of action? Is what the government cannot tell as of now, because it looks more like we do not prioritize education any longer in this country. Because if we do, we should be having the university having a governing council, a council that can sit down together and deliberate on what should come to the school, decisions that should be taken, things that should actually happen and all of that. But then we do not have that in our federal universities, and no wonder it seems as if they do not have a say. So each time they make their requests or submit any petition to the government, they are being treated like commoners. The attention that they are supposed to get, they are not getting. Now, questions from Nigerians is the fact that why are we having this union being treated in this way? What is the federal government aim? I mean, people have so many reasons why they do certain things, but why is the federal government doing this? Can they actually give a reason why we have this union being treated in this manner, and what is the way forward, so we can be able to have a tertiary situation where, Rachel, you can actually boast and say, I went to school in 2024. I am sure that it's a 4-year course. In the next 4 years, I should be leaving. Not that you only know your admission letter, this is the date, but when you're leaving the tertiary institution, it's what you do not know. And that has been the story of most Nigerians in the country.
Definitely, Sarah. And it's really sad to see that the federal government is acting upon strike like that. And it just clearly sends a very simple message, and that is that the government have created a thick skin for strikes in the country, meaning, you know what, you can go on your strike, you eventually could go out of it, and then we move. Because if we will keep having the same problems lingering for decades, and then this union just have to move with it and just, let's just grab what we can get from the government and move, but nothing is ever being solved completely, then you know that we are just growing to a level where we have a government that is adamant concerning what is happening in the country. And I believe that they are adamant is because they are not directly affected by the poor standard of our education in the country as it is now. Because if you are, you will do something about it. Because you are the government, you represent the people, and you have the resources. And it's always not about big things. It's about consistency in the little things. Why are we not seeing a consistent improvement in the care of the senior staffs of Nigerian? Because the thing is that it's not about just dashing them 1 million and go. It's about meeting their demands one after the other, and then there's a growth. We can say so when it comes to welfare. You start at this amount, you make improvement the following months, you make improvement the following years, and then we keep going. But we have a government that are not directly affected. And by directly affected, I mean their wards are not in these tertiary institutions in Nigeria. So we can talk about medicine, where we will say facilities that are supposed to be for a certain number of people, we have a higher number having access to it. And we are having learning at a standard that shouldn't even be accepted in the first place. And medicine can be used as the easiest example, but we have many other faculties, departments that are going through things like that. And if you decide as a government to treat a union better than the other, it shows that you think that academic staffs, for instance, are better than the non-academic staffs, for example. And you're getting it wrong, because you're now trying to say the academic part of the school is better than the non-academic part of the school. And you know that they work together.
None can do without the other.
None can do without the other. Secondly, if the other union that went on this strike together with the rest were able to get their payment, I'm also supposed to see, I'm hoping to see a support from the ones that have been paid to the ones that are yet to receive. Because in the first place, these other unions do not go on the strike alone. And if your payment has been approved and you move, you're supposed to also be a voice for them to make the government do something. And lastly for me, Sele, is if the Nigerian government is beginning to create a thick skin for strike, the union should start thinking of a better way to make the government listen. Because in the end, you are a union. You are there to make the government listen. And I know you are, Sele, from a different school of thought concerning why do we have to go on strike. It's the same way where we can say, must the government have law enforcement, for example? And I would say that there will be people that will want to abide to the law, and there will be people who want to. Therefore, there's a need for enforcement. It's the same way there will be a government that will listen, and there will be a government that won't listen. And it's important to have a union that will make whatever type of government listen. Because every government comes with agenda and priority. It's normal when it comes to administration. And they might, not because they have a bad wish or will for the other, but their priority might be so focused and driven to another angle that another may suffer. I believe it's the union's job to draw their attention and make them listen. And if they are beginning to develop a thick skin for strike, we saw that with the NLC, TUC, every other union, begin to devise measures that will make them listen. Because if they are not listening to you, you are no longer a union. You are there to make them act. Not only listen, but act. So if they are refusing to act on your strike, you devise means of making them act. Because as I'm sitting down here, I'm already thinking, if I was a union, if they are not listening or acting upon my strike, what is the next thing I can do to make them act by force? Because you have to act. You're the government. You're there to act. If you act, nobody will need a strike. It's just steady flow. And we will move and we will go to the next level. But when you refuse to, then somebody has to make you listen and act. And that is where we are when it comes to how Nigeria is working as it is now. So let the union just keep, because it's sad to see that you came back, your money have not been paid, and you're giving them a 2-week ultimatum again. And the question is, how sure are we don't listen to you in these 2 weeks? So you have to make them act.
You know, Rachel, it's just sad, just like you said, you need to make them that we are also we are even considering our union thinking of another thing to do to make the government to listen. Just like you always say, if only everybody know what he or she is supposed to do and he or she does it, we'll not be in this, we'll not even be discussing the issue of strike.
Mhm.
But it's so sad that corruption has eaten deep into our educational sector, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about the review of their salaries and their allowance that they're talking about, their earnings of since 2009 that they had an agreement with the federal government. So what are we saying, Richard? So we're looking forward to when a body will act, the government will act without necessarily a body forcing you to do. I mean, we saw what happened during the strike of 2021, whereby another union was being considered. If ASU is not ready, we have another body that is ready to do. This is not how we should be dealing with issues like this. Now, we saw that, I mean, for the past about 18 days, we had students in Kaduna that were being kidnapped, abducted from school, primary school kids in Chukun local government area of that place. And then we've seen that about 137 of them were being recovered, which, according to the governor, is the total number that is trying to contradict the earlier information we had that there were about 287. And you know, Nigerians are actually trying to be skeptical at the fact that why didn't you rectify all of this information? I mean, we were working with the number that is over 200 plus, and then unfortunately we are having, or is it fortunate or unfortunately, the fact that the number is just 137. And a bit for that, the president has promised to make the school safe, and that is why he said he's going to be working with some body of corps that which he has actually some security agency that will be in charge of making sure that, you know what, our school is safe, to make sure that everybody that is going to study can actually study with a sound mind, not thinking what if, because that have been the situation, especially for primary and secondary school, because they are the ones who have been suffering. We can go back to the Chibok, the Dapchin, that in Kestina, that is also in Zamfara. So we can just keep picking things that have happened. But then beyond this, what more can we do? Because we've seen that not only in the 36 states, but even including the FCT, there have always been a threat to school. So each time students are in school, there's always this fear and speculation. What if this is it? What this is it? But I really have to commend the president for, even though it looks as if it's late, why did we have to have this before we'll be considering safety? But I mean, since we are considering the safety, I hope that the plan is ongoing presently, that security agents will be deployed to the entire school. So that is to say, they have the numbers of how many primary schools we have, secondary school, including tertiary institution, colleges, polytechnics, and the likes of it, to make sure that, you know what, when you're in school, Rachel, you can focus, not being afraid that, you know what, something might happen to you. So we have to commend the president for the plans down on the ground, and I hope that we'll begin to see work as quick as possible.
The question of why now and not then is not supposed to be directed to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's just stepping in as the president and he's acting quickly on what is supposed to be his kudos. The question of why haven't we had this court, for example, since, should be directed to the Buhari administration, or even say who were the Chibok girls kidnapped under.
Can go back to the Goodluck administration.
Exactly. And then we can talk about the Dapchi girls, the Greenfield, and all of those schools. There are target-prone areas for kidnapping, whether we like it or not. It's easier. Can a school student be abducted in an urban area? Yes, but not 137. Definitely, 1, 2, yes. Unfortunate school pupils maybe going home, those age where the parents do allow them to go to, and all of that. We've had such cases. But an abductions of hundreds of numbers of students, we only see that in rural areas. We can say same for Chibok girls, we can say same for Dapchi girls, and every other school. So why haven't we had an administration that ever since the first such was introduced to these areas that are prone to this kidnapping? The first happened, the second happened, and 10 years later, we are now having this one. And it just looks like kidnappers are having a spree and just, enjoying themselves, kidnapping. And few days to the deadline for the ransom, we are seeing our army swooping in and then getting these children out to safety. It's never late. The question is, will it be active? Because we have the school safety program by the civil defense, in Nigeria. How active are they being? And I believe that the civil defense cannot be at the rural areas, because they are not also trained to protect people at that side. Also, they are civil defense. Can they really stop armed herdsmen coming to kidnap? That's another top tier kind of security that we can say that should be for the army. When it comes to terrorists or bandits or herdsmen, just any people with sophisticated weapon have to be for the same people who can match their sophistication when it comes to weapons and all of that. So the question of why now shouldn't be directed to Tinubu. It should be from the administration, where we started having school children abducted in large numbers. For him now, he is doing the right thing. This is now his administration, and he is starting it now. He's not late, he's not early. He's just doing it at his own time. That's just how it is. But how effective is the administration willing to make this initiative? And that is what matters. Not that we'll wake up tomorrow and hear another 100 kidnapped in one local government elsewhere. And this should be quick and like treated with emergency or something like that. For me, is the word, the sustainability, the consistency, and then how effective this initiative will be eventually.
Well, Rachel, we just like you said, we hope the initiative will be, even though the plans have already been concluded, and we are hoping to see them sweeping into action to be sure that, everybody that is studying, just like I said, will actually feel safe to sit down in class and then study, not that you'll be thinking. And we just hope that, you made mention of the fact that this number wouldn't be missing if it was in the urban area. Now, this calls to all our senators, House of Rep are concerned. What are you doing about construction of roads? What are you doing for easy access to all of the schools? Even though we know in the urban areas, most of the schools are mostly being situated in areas whereby there are less noise for good and effective learning. But still at that, there are good roads accessible to those schools, in and out. So it's very difficult for you to see those numbers being kidnapped and all of that. But just like you said, we will not blame the Tinubu administration, but for every administration that can put something that will stand the test of time, so that anybody that comes after you will have something to work with and even build better on it. Now, to conclude it, last week we saw in Abia State where the State House of Assembly passed a bill, and that bill have come to stay, whereby no more payments of former or ex-governors and their deputies in a bid to cut down cost of governance. And we're saying that SERAP is coming out to tell the president that, we need you to actually, enforce the judgment to the Federal High Court, the fact that henceforth all states, no payment of pensions, and they're making sure that that is unlawful if any former governor is collected, because it looks more like a daylight robbery. I mean, you are not working anymore, but the people who are working are not even earning as high as you. They're no longer working. So it really looks unfair to states, and therefore it is important that perhaps this should be considered unlawful for you to collect this. But there is left to the response that will be coming from Mr. President. And then what would the Senate President do about it? Because definitely for things like this, it has to pass through the House. You can't just pass a bill without the House going through it to be sure that whether it will sit with them or not. Because we know most of those are in the Senate and reps. We're one-time governors, one-time deputies, and all of that. But then right now, it's just for us to see. It's right now, SERAP against Tinubu to see what he's going to do concerning what they actually, drop on his table concerning the issue of paying of former governors or ex-governors and their deputies.
I would like to see more of a bill that it's easier for state governors to implement than just an outright ban on payment. I like how ambitious SERAP is definitely concerning watching out what the government does, especially when it comes to the finances. Of course, that is what their main focus and attention is. Now, I believe that it's just called embargoes, for example, should just be placed, for example, on how much, even if you want to give them pension. Remember, it's cutting down the cost of governance. And either way, that is where the person retired from. You get what I'm coming from? It's just trying to be fair and balanced, and as much as without being fair or balanced to them, what Abia state governor have done is okay. But let's put it this way, that you know what? Either way, they retired as governors. So if you're retired, you are pensionable. You are pensionable, you are a retired politician. It is an occupation in Nigeria, obviously. So you are pensionable. For example, we can go there. Now, I believe you are only entitled to that pension if you stop as being a governor. If you move to the Senate,
aspiring for something.
If you move to the Senate, you are still actively a politician.
True.
Serving in a senator's position. You can't be getting pension. But the problem is, you are a senator, you are getting pension as being an ex-governor, and you are still getting allocation allowances and senator's payment. You get it? So now, the law should be, if you move to becoming a senator, no more. Secondly, there is a percentage to what pension should be. Not just an outrageous entitled amount of money. Law should be, what is the percentage? It should be also on how much governors are being given. So when this kind of laws are being put in place, it makes it easier, you understand, to be implemented. And this is, for me, my suggestion or understanding of how it should go about it. It's about cutting down the costs of governance. It's not about making the life of anybody difficult after leaving. Yes, but what are the measures put in place to make sure that those outrageous sums of money are not given? And eventually, yes, let the president do something about it. Serap is absolutely not out of way. Yeah.
Very, very right. Serap is actually right. And we hope to see you follow up on that. Just like you said, we are not out here to be out for our former governor and saying no more pension for you. But then what is right is what should be right. We're saying that a number of states, even for salaries, they have to borrow from the federal government for them to be able to meet up. So imagine borrowing not only to pay active civil servants, but also to pay for our, pensioners, and then add up to the former governors is really not right. So we hope to see how this will unfold, and we just hope that it will actually work in favor of every other person.
Yeah.
So that nobody, of course, in this there will definitely be no winner or loser. There's no trophy at the end to win.
Yeah.
But just for the betterment of the country. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome,
with me. And thank you also to our viewers. Thank you to our supporters for keeping a moment with us on Nigeria Now. Until we come tomorrow, please have a great day ahead.